welcome to this video. Today I'm going to show you how to make a wonderful posy out of all of these lovely succulents that we've made. But I'm just going to rewind a little bit. I've done a little bit of prep in front of you here, but just to go back a stage, the last video I did, I showed you how to make these lovely succulents and how to put them in the little cups to dry. Now what we're going to do is turn them out of the cups, and as you can see, they're not on wires. So the first thing is just to prepare for the bouquet. I'm going to show you how to put them on wires. Now this is a 22 gauge wire. Now depending on what type of paste you're using, depends on the strength of wire. But 22 gauge wire for this, as you can see, it's perfect. It holds it quite well. So we get the length of wire, and first of all we're just going to snip it in half. Then what we need to do is, I use the same pliers. If you've got nose pliers with you can curl with, that's absolutely fine, whatever you're comfortable using. And I hold the end of the wire and then I curl the wire just around the end. So now I've got a little coil, if you can see that. Now what I want to do, I'm not cutting, I'm just holding, and then I bend that wire up so that now I've got like, I don't know what you'd call it really, like a little walking stick type shape. So that's what we're looking for, is that little hook there that curls round, and then that nice shape there. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to introduce a candle. Now I know this is always scary, but we turn the flower or the succulent, whatever we're doing, upside down, and then we get ready, and I'm going to put this wire right in the middle of that candle. Now I want it to get really hot, so I hold it there for a little bit, and I'm holding it to the base of the candle because that's where it's hottest. Now we need it to be really, really hot. So I keep doing that, make sure my succulent is ready, because this is one quick movement now. You'll get a puff of smoke. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take the wire out and put it straight into the back. So 1, 2, 3, a puff of smoke there. And then we just hold it. Now we hold it just so that it sets, especially when you're using sugar. It melts the sugar, but then it will set very quickly. So we just need to hold that in place just for a little minute. I'm just going to take the candle away, and then we go back to our succulent. And as you can see, that's sturdy and perfect. Now you might not like the little burn mark that it's left on the back. So to cover that up, I get a tiny, tiny, tiny little piece of paste. I've got too much here, I must admit, so that's half that. And then I'm just going to pop over the top and press down. And that just covers that up so that you can't see it. I do tend to put a little bit all the way around so that when it dries it makes it quite secure as well. There we are, perfect. And then that's ready. Now I do tend to leave it to dry properly overnight just to make sure that they are secure. And then obviously to cover up your burn marks and to make your wire green to match, we're just going to twist that in shape. So gently twist, and then when we've got about an inch there, I gently push that to the top, and then I keep spinning to cover the rest of my wire. Make sure that goes right to the top, and then we spin all the way down to the bottom, and that's our succulent ready to go. And the next thing we need to do is a little bit more preparation, and that's just to add a little bit of colour to them. Now it's your choice whether you do add colour, and I know in previous videos I've showed you how to colour some of them, but I do want to add a little bit of burgundy and a little bit of autumn green to these. Now this is my biggest succulent that I've got going in, and there's only one of this particular variety, so I do want to just kiss the edges with a little bit of burgundy just to make it pop out a little bit more. So I have my paintbrushes at the ready, and all I'm going to do, I'm putting the colour on, and then as normal I'm taking it off, because we are literally just kissing those edges. I don't want them to go all the way down, I just want it to be at the end there, and I just think this makes them look so much more real. So don't put lots and lots of colour on. There's hardly any colour on my brush as I do this, and as I work my way round, Go back to the centre. And I'm not putting it on the back either, it's only the front that I'm concentrating on. So, but as you can see, it really makes a difference, doesn't it? Really lifts that succulent. I think it just gives it that finishing touch. So I'm just gently cupping them as well with my finger, just so that none break off as well. We don't want any breakages at this stage, not when we're ready to wire up into a bouquet. Especially if this is going on a cake and it's going out tomorrow or tonight. And you can see I'm not using much colour either, just kissing those little edges. There we go. I think that looks lovely. I think it really brings it to life. And just add a little bit of colour wherever you think's needed. But I think that's perfect. I'm not going to do any more to that at all. And I'm not doing the back. You're not going to see the back when I wire it all in anyway. But sometimes you get flowers and succulents that are quite dark on the one side and a different colour on the other. So I think that looks nice. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put the lid on my burgundy. And then we're going to move to the autumn green, which is a lovely, lovely green colour, as you can see. And then I'm moving to the other succulents. Now with these, I just want to add a bit of colour down below. So not at the top, but actually just right in the centre there. And just tucked in. Now this is just going to add a little bit of depth to this. As you can see, not much, but let me just get another one. If I hold them together, you can see the one has got a little bit more depth than the other one. It just makes it look a little bit more realistic. So it's well worth doing this. And it doesn't take much time, just to dab a little bit of colour right at the base there. And I have got my fingers at the bottom, so that's just supporting those also as I'm doing this. And as we do them, we're going to move them along. So I'm trying to gradually get ready for putting all this into something beautiful. Now we can start thinking about what kind of bouquet we want to do, whether we want it to be cascading or whether we want it to be more of a posy shape. There's so many different things you can do with these succulents. There you go, that's looking good. I do think it just brings them alive, this little bit of dusting just in the edges there. So it looks like it's just bursting out and then it gets its true colour at the ends. And then I'll explain the other flowers that I've prepared to go in here. There we are. And this one is still a little bit wet, it's firm, but I'm just going to be a little bit careful with this one because I know I've only just done the wire. There we are. Okay, so then again we clear this mess up, put everything to one side that you don't need. I tend to fold the tissue up and then just move it away, and we know that all the colour's in one place then. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a wonderful array. I've always got scissors ready and wire cutters. I've always got my tape ready. Now your tape will need to be cut in half. So I tend to get big scissors. These are really big today. Don't normally use ones this size, but it's fine because we actually cut a lot more if we use the bigger scissors. So, and I'm cutting the tape in half, because if we don't and we use the full width of tape, you get quite a bulky stem. So it's quite nice just to trim in half like so. Just going to trim a little bit more. Always make sure you've got enough cut. I'm going to say that and probably run out, but it's fine. So there we are, and we stop there. So I've got two nice lengths of my tape ready. Now, as you know, sometimes the tape sticks to your fingers and your fingers get sticky. So I've always got a little bag of corn flour just to put on your fingers. So just have that at the ready, just so that you can touch it with your fingers. Now the other things that I've got you have seen all of the succulents that we've just coloured up. So I'm going to put those to the one side. And then here, these are just very tiny kind of carnations. So I've cut a circle, I've thinned the edges, and then I've put it together, and they're just like little carnations there. Very, very tiny carnations. But they just look quite pretty, and they're quite light compared to the heavy succulents. And I've just done a few there with different amounts on the end. I think they look quite nice. And then we've got the eucalyptus, which is always lovely. It's always a favourite. I've got the Cambria orchid, which again is another favourite of mine. And I just like the red. And I want to bring the red out of that central one as well. So I think that'd be quite nice to add that burst of colour. And then we've got these lovely dove orchids. Now I might not use these, I just saw them and thought, oh, they're really nice. And I'd got 3 of them lying around, so I've just put those to one side. Now these, it's a beautiful succulent, and my daughter's actually brought this to go down to university. They all cascade out of the pot and cascade down, and they're sort of beautiful little things. So, and I've put those on wires. And then we've got the good old japonica leaf as well, which is always a go-to. It's just quite nice. It's a little bit tropical, and it will also lift. It's a different colour that I'm introducing because it's a different green. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm doing is finding the end of my tape, and then I'm going to look at what I want this to look like. Do I want it trailing? Well, let's have a little play around. If we want it trailing, we want something quite long coming down, cascading. So I might use this as my cascading one. Now I will also look at these, and they're different lengths, so I might find one of these that's cascading as well, just to help elongate that, and maybe go off into a different direction as well. So we lean that there, that looks good so far. And then I think maybe another one of these, that one, to come up there. So far I'm liking this arrangement as it sort of cascades down. Now I want to introduce that little burst of colour, so I'm looking at the orchids and I'm seeing which ones are going to fit best, and I think that looks nice as a trailer, and it's going to bring your eye up. Now what I'm going to do is just start fixing these together. Now if you were doing a cake, that would look amazing cascading down the cake, so that would look really, really good. Just make sure it's bending and twisting the way you want it to. That's really important. Now I'm twisting a few times. I've got to watch where it's hitting the other end. I'm twisting a few times just to make that come down. And then I'm thinking, what do I want to go here? I don't want to introduce my main thing straight away. I want to bring that in quite gradually. So I think some succulents. Well, these type of succulents, I should say. So I'm going to add maybe a green one there, maybe one the other side, but a little bit higher. I'm going to swap them. This one's a little bit bigger, so I want this to go that side. So it's all about looking at them as you're arranging and just seeing, well, actually what fits where. Now I do want to add another colour, so I'm going to add that japonica leaf in the background, because that just adds that burst of different colour, and then my shape is starting to move out as well, which is quite nice. Now I think, how about adding a little burst of white as well? Not that one, let's find another one. That one. Because I've done these all different shapes and sizes, so it's quite nice to have a little mess around and see what you can do with them. Now always leave a little bit of room, remember, to the butterflies to fly in and out. So I actually want this one to go down but out a little bit more as well, I think. And then I'm going to introduce maybe another japonica just a little bit lower down. So I'm going to tape that now where I'm holding it, and I'm always holding it quite firm with my finger and my thumb, and then I'm spinning, and it should always look nice from the back as well, from the front. Even though people don't tend to look at back of bouquets, it's nice to have that lovely finish. So I don't go down all the way because I'm going to cut off a lot of these wires, but we just move it slightly. And I think that's quite a nice feature as it comes down. Always make the wires very gentle in their movements as well. And then we can always bend and twist as we need to. So I'm going to make this one come out a little bit more. Maybe there. I don't want this to be too long, but I don't want it to be too chunky either. So we are being careful. I might introduce those and curl them up a little bit. So that just adds a little bit of lightness. In fact, I'm going to put them the other side, just there, I think. And then just hold it together. Always put your hands behind it, because if it's lying on a cake, it's going to be supported. It's not going to be sort of flying in mid-air, if that makes sense. Right, so then I'm looking and I'm thinking I really want to introduce my main one now, but I do want some more of these to support it. It's kind of run away. So I'm going to put that there, I think. Always think about depth. It's nice to have flowers sort of overlapping. You don't find them all in a perfect row. So you can see this one is going to overlap. This is kind of trying to hide and burst through. And then we give it a little spin. And then I'm thinking maybe just, do we want a small one or do we want a bigger one? I want one in between really, which I haven't done. Maybe there, maybe that one. And you can see then you are introducing the colour and it's just bursting out. So I'm going to introduce that there. And then I really want to get my main one in and try and finish this off, because it's actually really long, which is lovely because it's really cascading. So we've got that one popping there. I'm going to start bringing a bit more of that red down now as well, which I think looks lovely. I think I like that little burst of red. Now the tape wants to stick to me, so we put a little bit of cornflour on our fingers just to help with that. And then we can always go back and twist those little flowers. It's really hard actually, because I'm trying to be very delicate as I do this. But there you go. I must admit that is looking amazing as it is, but we don't want to finish there. We want to add more. When I first started doing this, I was actually going to do a posy, but then I've got a 3-tiered stacked polystyrene dummy that's in front of me ready to work, and I just think this looks so nice coming down there. So I'm chopping and changing quite a lot. So feed these in. Don't be scared of kind of looping them through, like so. And they can maybe hide down there a little bit. There we are. Because they just fill in the gap, but it doesn't look too overwhelming, which is what I'm trying to create here. So that we've got that other orchid. And then I do want to introduce this big one. I think I'm actually going to introduce it to the side. I don't want it to be the main thing in the middle. I want it just to look nice and pretty there. I might introduce a little bit more orchid, and now we need to think, are we going to introduce more of these? Well, I actually think I'm going to put 2 of them right at the bottom here, because I think that would look quite pretty. But you can see it's really starting to come together now, and all I'm doing is I just keep playing. I just keep lifting these up and seeing where they might go, where they might look pretty. So I want these to then fall behind, and I can see there's a gap over there with nothing, so we're just messing now and just seeing what looks good where. And then again we get our tape and we tape together, and never be worried, because we can always move things if we don't like what it looks like. And as you can see, the back's looking nice and neat as well. Sometimes looking at the back you can see where you need to introduce more flowers. So I'm just taping those up. Sorry this isn't always in camera, it's because it's so big now that I'm having to really dodge everything. So if I lay that down, you can see that's starting to look really pretty and really different as well, and unusual. Now I can see straight away that I do need more of the eucalyptus leaves, just to add that bit of dark green that's happening in the background. And I think maybe put these here, coming down. I'm just bending them into shape. Those ones I think need to come forward a little bit and sort of looking a bit more up, like so. I think I would like to introduce this orchid. I think that will look nice. We don't want to make it too messy, so what I'm looking at, there's a lot of little things going on here and I don't want too much. So if I add this, it's more detail, it's more little things to look at. So I think I'm actually going to add the succulent because they are the stars of the show after all. So I think I'm going to add that in there. Do I need one of these? Not really. If I was going bigger and I was carrying on with it, then yes, we can keep adding these. But I'm not going to. I'm happy with that. So let's move everything to one side that we've kind of finished with. And then I'm just adding the japonica leaves right at the back, just to give it a little bit of frame, a little bit of colour as well. And then maybe this one is going to bend down like so. And then we get our tape and we tape up. And we have used quite a lot of tape on this. So I'm always got my fingers at the ready, look, to twist. And then we curl that around. There we go. Like so. So we're going to spin, spin, spin. I think this looks really nice actually, and different to a posy. The posies look lovely, but I think for this is going to be cascading down a cake, a little 3-tiered wedding cake, and we can cascade it down. And I think it's going to look lovely. Now I don't go all the way to the tip. I've stopped there, and then you see these loose wires. We get the pliers and we just trim them off. So just squeeze and get rid of those loose wires. There we are. And then I'm going to put the posy down and hope that it just about fits into shot. But as you can see, we've got a good array there of textures going on and movement, and I think they look really nice. And now you've finished and you've not the panic, but kind of holding it and the weight, you can have a look at it and you can see, oh, actually that needs moving, maybe that needs moving. I'm actually pleased with that, and I'm not going to move anything. And maybe just a little bit of a tweak here and there. You know, you think, should you add some more little bursts of white? But I think that looks fine. I like the way this cascades over the top of this one here. So there we are. That is how we do a bouquet ready to cascade down the cake. I'll show you the back as well, because I think the back is just as important as the front. And you can see how I've got those leaves. They're not doing anything important. I can still see through them, but they're just adding that little bit of depth of colour in the background, which, as you can see, does make the difference there. So there we are. That is how to make a succulent bouquet with orchids and leaves. And there's a couple of beautiful succulents and little bits in there. Okay, so I'm going to put that down. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you soon.